Jimmy and JoAnne, it's nonsensically warm in New York. It was like 55 today, but Merry Christmas. Hello, you're both looking very festive. How are you tonight?
We're doing great. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, all the things. Everybody
Happy
have a great
Hanukkah.
holiday.
Thank you, thank you. Very nice to see you both. It's always nice to see you guys, and this is an extra nice time of year. I hope everybody is getting with family and getting ready to celebrate the holidays. We're, of course, getting ready for our show, Unseen Libya with Jimmy and JoAnne Moriarty, which is going to be starting at 8:30 while everybody is probably, I don't know, maybe basting a ham. What do you do with a ham? You brine it?
Yeah, the ham should be brine before you get it, but you have to put a glaze on it, or you should.
Right. So
Some people
people,
don't.
they're probably doing that, and if they're not, why are they not doing that? But
Either that, or they're making a prime rib roast or something.
something like that, a standing rib roast, a prime rib roast. There's all kinds of great things that people could be doing for Christmas, getting ready. But we are going to be talking about the UN and looking into the possibility that it could be a criminal organization. It's actually ironic because just this morning, Ole Damagard's show, Light on Conspiracies with Ole Damagard, we were talking about the same thing, right? Did I lose you guys there? Oh, sorry.
When we were growing up, everybody in the United States bitched and moaned because the U.S. paid all the costs of the UN, and every time a vote came up that was contrary to U.S. needs, that it was the U.S. was put on the back burner always.
Didn't it start out as the League of Nations?
Yeah, but they modified it. But
Yeah.
the UN absolutely has been a succubus on the U.S. forever, and so it's real funny now that it's being exposed for what it is, and we've got some real interesting disclosures tonight. One of them is from one of the top leaders in Qatar, and he outs everything that the U.S. instructed them to do for years and years and years, and he was finally being called on the carpet because they said he was robbing and stealing too much. He had confiscated billions of dollars, and
Too much.
it's just yeah. Well, have you ever tried to run for office, Jason? Political
No,
office?
no.
Well,
Maybe I
when you
should.
do, you go and sign up for which party you want to be affiliated with, and they send you this questionnaire over the internet. And the first question is, do you agree to lie, cheat, steal, and rob like the rest of us? And if you answer yes, then you go to the next question. If you answer no, then it says, don't call us, we'll call you.
Right.
So it's real funny that these politicians, when one of them loses favor, whatever, then they start pointing the finger at him. Oh, he's a thief, he's a murderer, he's a crook.
Hmm.
Well, pot's
Especially
calling
when
the kettle black.
especially when they start to blow the whistle.
Yeah. And he's really outed a whole bunch of really war crimes and atrocities that have been directed by the United States. And so, we're going to get into that in depth. We're going to talk about how the UN is in such a trap now because their illegitimacy is blatant, their illegality is blatant, and they've got themselves in a real box over these memorandums of understanding that two good standing members of the UN, Turkey and this phony UN government in Tripoli, have been making memorandums of understanding that violate maritime law and all kinds of stuff. And Turkey and this phony government in Tripoli are demanding that the UN ratify those memorandums of understanding. And so, according to the charter of the UN, if two legitimate governments make agreements, then the UN should ratify it. So they're in a real box over that. We're going to get into detail about all the ramifications of that. But, for all practical purposes, Turkey and this phony government in Tripoli, they have given Turkey all the water rights for the Eastern Mediterranean, draw lines from Turkey down to Libya, and all that waterfront, they're saying, is now controlled by Turkey. So they violated maritime law and everything, and the UN is sitting there, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that? And the rest of the world is up in arms over it, even European community and everything. But this first, that's the guy from Qatar that absolutely exposes.
He's the past prime minister of Qatar.
And you've not found this report or this statement from him anywhere. That was sent to us by some of our Libyan tribal leaders, you know. He really outs everything the U.S. had them do, you know, and he talks about all the countries they destroyed at the behest and at the instruction of the United States.
Well,
and something else that I want everybody to consider is Qatar is a little popcorn fart of a country. It's tiny.
Yeah.
Yet the largest U.S. military base outside the United States is in Qatar. And the R&R facility for all the terrorists, all ISIS and Muslim Brotherhood and Ansar al-Sharia, all of them, their R&R facility is contiguous to the U.S. military base in Qatar. And the U.S. military airplanes fly in all the hookers and all the young boys and girls and all the booze and all the drugs and everything into that R&R facility in Qatar. So for the U.S. to say we're fighting terrorism, absolutely just the biggest bald-faced lie in the world. It's being outed by one of the leaders of Qatar now.
That's shocking. I was thinking as I was preparing for this show that, I mean, I knew we were going to be sort of talking about this, and we have had some military veterans and, you know, members of the U.S. military who have joined the show and spoken about this, but they've got to be all over the place and they've got to be upset. I cannot imagine that a person would join the U.S. military with the expectation that they'd be overseeing the delivery of hookers to Qatar.
Well, it's nonstop. That's the recreation facility. When the ISIS and all of them have fought 2 or 3 weeks, then they're flown in there for a week or two of R&R.
But
Jason,
Jimmy,
I'll give you a little piece.
JoAnne, sorry to interrupt, but what can we say to the people who are going to doubt this and who are going to say that you have no proof?
I can say something to it. Let me say something to it.
Yeah.
My first husband was in the Marine Corps. He flew F-4s, Phantoms, jets in the Marine Corps. And he was stationed, Marine Corps has no accompanied tours overseas. So we were stationed in Hawaii. He would go to the Philippines. He would go wherever, but the wives and children never went. So I was in Hawaii, and they had the Marine Corps ball in the Philippines while the men were gone. Women don't do anything; they stayed home. But they had a Marine Corps ball there. Well, of course, there's no women, so the Marines hired a bunch of Filipino hookers and paid them to go to the Marine Corps ball, so that the men would have some women there.
Wow!
And I know that for a fact because I know the guys that were there.
Wow!
Some of them caught some venereal diseases.
Oh my God!
So I had trouble. But this is. They do
Modus
this.
operandi.
They do this in the military. This is not something that they don't talk about it. They love to hide it. But I was involved. I knew about it personally.
Now, what we saw in Libya is we saw these mercenaries being supplied Viagra and alcohol and everything that was never in Libya, and that was being brought in through these flights that were originating somewhere, Turkey, Qatar, and they're being brought into Libya. And of course, these guys had never had any alcohol, never had any Viagra or anything. Of course, they pump them up with all that, and then of course they're encouraged to go out and rape all the women, which they did. These are activities that are taught to them by the CIA and Mossad,
And it was blamed on Gaddafi.
Yeah, and they absolutely act on all those purient desires, you know. But it's a mess. And let me explain something else. There's not any way in the world that the U.S. could have this big a footprint, this huge military complex in Qatar, and not know what's going on. Weapons coming in, UN weapons and weapons made in the United States and Germany, they're coming into Qatar and being forwarded from Qatar to Libya to Syria, etc. Now, the U.S. military is either deaf, dumb, and blind, or they had to be compliant in it. So what do you want to say? Our military is absolutely stupid, or is it something that they're not talking about?
Yeah, but you know, the military men that come out, and there's so many suicides now, and there's so much heartbreak going on in the military because they're just fighting for these big corporations, and there's no moral value in it. There's no humanity in it. There's nothing where they're not fighting to help people. They're fighting to take over countries and steal things and break things, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a real shame. You know, we had that show about how the U.S. military is working for the giant corporations, Exxon.
Here's something else. The Libyan government asked us, this is way back in 2007 and 8.
The military suicide rate.
They wanted us to help them buy 50,000 Toyota trucks and four-wheel drive a month $50,000 a month for a year. They'd like to get that contract. So we went to the Toyota truck factory in the United States and tried to secure those, and they said no, we don't export any of our pickup trucks out of the United States. Just doesn't happen. There's some trucks made in Japan, but we went to Toyota in Japan, and they said no, those special vehicles with the big radiators, those that are equipped for the desert, they're only made in the United States. So with money on the table, could not buy them for any price. Yet look at all the ISIS caravans. Look at all the Muslim Brotherhood caravans. They're all these Toyota pickup trucks made in the United States. How'd they get them?
Yeah.
Well, they're in Syria. They were in Iraq.
Every place.
They're in Afghanistan. Tons of them.
So,
See?
But they all do look very, I mean, this is a fleet. This is not a random purchase of a Toyota here, a Toyota there. They're the same model year, the same model. They all look, for the most part, pretty darn similar. And I mean, this is a new Toyota.
Yeah, and go to Bolivia right now, same thing, same string of caravans, the same uniforms. So
who's purchasing them?
Yeah.
Certainly not ISIS.
State Department.
Them. Of
there
course.
you go. There you
CIA,
go.
State Department. Just like they purchased those shoulder-mounted rockets.
So for everything that's happening along these lines, there's got to be a cargo ship sending them. There's got to be people on those cargo ships. I mean, somebody's got to email this video to somebody that that's working somewhere in this supply chain to come forward and tell us about what's going on. I mean,
amen.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that they can amass the bad guys running our military industrial complex and most of our military, the bad guys that are running it have unlimited access to transport facilities. It really is a complex problem, but they're all scheduled years in advance. As Dennis Kucinich and the others exposed to us, they said that these war games and everything are planned years in advance, and the logistics to make all of it work have been planned way, way, way in advance.
Look what Clark outed, the 7 countries they were going to take down. He was at the meeting.
So, don't believe anything we say. Look it up, verify it, ask yourself, how can this happen?
Yeah,
so
it just doesn't make sense.
We're going to talk about the UN involvement in this kind of illicit activity.
And I mean, you've got this document here from, who is this guy? He's from Qatar?
Yeah, his name is Hamad bin Jassim, and he's the former prime minister of Qatar. You can find him. There's a big Wikipedia site on him.
Huh. Charles Ortel was very involved in a project called Stop Qatar Now. I'm not sure what they were trying to stop them from doing. I'll have to ask Charles about that. But we know from the WikiLeaks emails that Qatar was involved in financing ISIS, according to Hillary Clinton.
Well, sure. But here's the truth. The money was printed by the Federal Reserve and European Central Bank and funneled to Qatar. Qatar didn't originate any of that money. All that money came from the banksters, the Khazarian mafia that own the printing presses at the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan. So all the money they needed was funneled to them by the Federal Reserve and European Central Bank.
They are, for lack of a better word, the best whores in the world. They're willing to do anything for money. And so they're hired by the State Department to fund these terrorists. They work with Turkey all the time. And the terrorists, these mercenary terrorists like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, whatever you want to call them, they spend a lot of R&R, like Jimmy said, in Qatar.
That was the number one resort facility for all the terrorists. But where did the money come from?
We saw Qatarian soldiers coming out of Libya in 2011 with stolen gold on a plane with us.
That was personal money for them. But, where did the money come from? Well, when Deutsche Bank declared bankruptcy on November 4th of this year.
Yeah. Whoops. Whoa. Somehow we lost you guys there. Oh, boy. Well, hopefully Jimmy and JoAnne will be back in just a moment. I'm not sure what happened. We're going to be starting our sponsor-only show. I hope they didn't lose their internet because we're supposed to be starting in 15 minutes. That was an abrupt cut. Well, okay, we're just about out of time here, and we've lost Jimmy and JoAnne. I hope people will join us. There we go. You're back.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Sorry. Jimmy hit the mouse with his arm. That's
Okay, good.
moved us to a different screen.
No
Sorry
problem.
about that.
No need to apologize. So I was just telling everybody that we're going to be starting our sponsor-exclusive show on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We're just about 15 minutes away from that. And for people who are watching us right now on any of the Crowdsource the Truth channels, it's really important that people go to patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty and sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne as we're closing out 2019 and getting ready for 2020. I think it's really worth mentioning that we super appreciate the sponsors and everybody who makes the shows possible. And in 2020, it's going to be more important than ever to keep this kind of independent reporting alive and vital and financially able to continue. I've been getting emails from almost every provider, not just YouTube, but Patreon and Vimeo. For some reason, everybody's changed their terms of service kind of at the same time. So I don't know what's going on. People are talking about some lawsuit where somebody is suing Elon Musk and Google for doing something with AI. I just had a brief look at it. I'm not sure that the misuse of AI is an actual cause of action. So I don't know if that's a legitimate lawsuit or something kind of wacky that somebody put together, but we'll see where that goes. Jimmy and JoAnne, I'll see you in just a few minutes on Patreon. Anything you want to say before we head over there?
No, we just want to thank everybody. God bless you all. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we hope everybody has a very safe and prosperous new year.
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, we'll have a show before New Year, so I say Merry Christmas.
There you go. And the one other thing I want to remind everybody about, if they haven't seen Jimmy and JoAnne before, they've also got a website, LibyanWarTheTruth.com. They're frequently updating that with information that's coming directly from the tribes in Libya. So it's important that people check the site frequently. There's really nobody else who has access to this type of information. A lot of people have said that Jimmy and JoAnne are the best human intelligence the United States has ever had on Libya, and people who sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty can purchase the Escape from Al-Qaeda DVD. It's a $15 DVD, but Patreon sponsors of Jimmy and JoAnne will get free shipping. That's a $5 savings. A little too late to get it in time for Christmas, but perhaps you can use the Christmas money to purchase the DVD. It helps keep Jimmy and JoAnne going until next Christmas. And we'll be back in just about 10 minutes on Patreon. So Jimmy, JoAnne, I'll see you there.
Hey, thank you, Jason. Thank you so
And
much.
thanks everybody for watching.